Welcome back to Bread and Butter, where we are serving up the basics for Hearthstone improvement. This is episode 124. As always, I'm joined by Pylet. Pylet, how are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. And back for the first time in a long time, we have DragonRider. DragonRider, how are you this fine day?
I am doing well. And I feel like we can insert some back for the first time in a long time, but you know that saying that's like here for a long time or not a long time? I don't know. Now I'm confused. That's how my day is going. I'm just confusing myself, and we just started. All right, this is going to be a great show.
It's going to be fantastic.
It absolutely is. So, Dawn, as you sound like you've been pretty busy. You were too busy for us last week, which we understand. But what have you been doing inside of Hearthstone?
That is a good question, and the answer to that is sadly actually nothing. Because real life has kind of gotten in the way a bit and things have been crazy, and I've been having to, try to do a lot of work and get things going for that. So, yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about that kind of stuff when we talk about outside the game. But yeah, sadly, inside the game, haven't been playing.
Quickest segment ever. Pylet, what have you been up to inside of Hearthstone?
Actually playing a little bit more than I have the past couple weeks. I finally decided that I was going to finish my legend climb, mainly just so that it wasn't kind of lingering there. I wasn't worried about it. But I actually was inspired enough to play standard. So I'm like, I'm going to take advantage of this and get this done. So I went from D10 and I just finished hitting legend not too long before we started recording with the Double Frost One Unholy Stuffy DK that I've been playing a lot of. Went on a pretty crazy win streak with that. Played a little arena with also only a little success. Haven't quite had a deck that has clicked. I've had a couple where I've probably gotten more wins than I should have out of them. I did take one run. I took a shaman run. I took Bolner, which is the legendary, when you play a battle cry, repeat the first battle cry you played that turn, and ended up getting enough imbues. I only got like 1 or 2 imbues, but I did get a school teacher, and I got the aspect embrace on a Nagaling and went from 1 to like 6 imbues in one turn. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun. So played a little bit of BGs as well. Don't really have too many games that stood out for me, but maybe Tito, you remember something from our duos that I don't remember. But I feel like duos, we stagnated for a little bit. So a little bit of hit and miss success there, but the BG's meta is pretty good. If you're bored with standard, I'd highly recommend going over there. So Tito, what have you been up to?
We definitely had a little bit of a downturn for about 3 days. I don't think we finished. I don't think we got a win or a top 2 in like 3 days. But then we were able to recover yesterday. I think we had first, second, first, or something like that. Or not yesterday. I don't even remember. No, it was Thursday, and then yesterday we played one game, I think, and we did really well. We won. So
something like that.
So we're duos is going great. I, on the other hand, was starting to get anxious about hitting legend, not just because there's only like a week left of the month, but because this week is going to be extremely busy. For those that don't know, I will be theory crafting on Thursday. I believe I will be coming on early. I'm going to try to Rorschach it and do as much theory crafting as I can between the 2 sessions. So we're just going to get out there, make decks. In our Discord, if you want to give us some ideas, we have a channel for that. So we're looking forward to trying to. Most of the time I get to theory crafting, I'm like, all right, what's good? Some people give me stuff. But this time we're going to try to, maybe it'll be a little bit proactive. And then after an hour, we'll be like, all right, give me stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But very excited. We'll be giving away bundles. But back to getting legend, I didn't want that hanging over me, especially because right after that, we then have the what do you call it? The
pre-release,
the brawl, the pre-release brawl, and I know I'm going to want to play that. So the problem I was having is I have been playing this Dragon Warrior that I made that is super fun and almost competitive, but almost competitive does not get you to legend. So last couple days, I've just played some. I'm taking the advice from Pylet from a couple weeks ago. I've been taking the Buff Hunter, which is got a high win rate but a low play rate, and I stagnated with it a little bit last week, but then just last night I said, "All right, Pilot, no duos until I hit Legend." I started at D5, easy climb. I think I played like a 70% win rate, and we got there last night. So, hooray, it's done. But DragonRider, what have you been doing outside of Hearthstone?
Oh my goodness. I feel like we talk about this every time, but it feels like a lot. I'm always doing a lot of stuff. But the big things that have been going on currently, been doing some work. I think ever since this probably happened after the last time we talked or around the last time I was on, but I am now the brand manager for Wild Hearts, for World of Wild Hearts, which is an indie company. We do board games and we have a trading card game. So I've been putting a lot of time into that, doing, staff meetings and kind of doing a lot of work for that, as well as other work. I had gotten a job for a short time. That didn't work out, but I've been doing other work. Last week, unfortunately, I didn't realize I was going out of town. I didn't realize when we would be traveling, so couldn't make the show last week due to that. But back in town where I live now, so could make it tonight to record. But basically, a lot of it is preparing and getting ready, saving up money, working to make sure that everything is paid for and all that for a big trip that we're taking at the end of July, which is going to actually be, it's like a 2-week long trip, which I've never done before. So I'm very excited, but it's a lot of planning and prep and getting everything ready for it. But going to the Star Wars Unlimited Galactic Championships, which is their world championships. It's the first year of the world champs, so very excited for that. There is some stuff that I will be doing that I don't think I can officially announce yet, but that's happening. So very exciting to be a part of that for the Galactic Championships. And then right after that, we'll be traveling, which that's in Vegas. And then we'll be traveling from Vegas all the way out kind of to the other side of the country to go to Gen Con in Indianapolis. So, very excited. This is also going to be my first time going to Gen Con. So it's a lot of travel, a lot of stuff. And then kind of in between, actually, on the way out, we're driving all of this as well. So it's like, I think we calculated and it's like 60 hours or something of driving over the 2 weeks. But I love road trips, so I'm very excited. And along the way, we'll be stopping in Kansas City to see Shinedown, a Shinedown concert right before Gen Con as well. So
nice.
I'm very excited. It's gonna be a big trip, lots of stuff happening. So like I said, it's been a lot of kind of preparing and, some of the stuff like for Gen Con, we've had to, make sure we have our badges ahead of time. We've had to do stuff. I've been doing email back and forth with the community manager for Star Wars for that kind of stuff and waiting on things for that and working on, okay, we have to actually basically buy our event tickets for some of the events at Gen Con ahead of time before those events sell out and, trying to plan with that. And at both events, going to be meeting up with a couple of Amber Flight Gaming members as well. So I'm very excited for that. So, kind of trying to also work with them and kind of coordinate a little bit. And man, it's been a lot, but I'm so excited.
Nice. And you're also, I probably should have mentioned this, you're also doing theory crafting this week, correct?
I am, yes. I haven't announced it officially on my social medias. That was going to be something that I post tomorrow. But I'm doing the theory crafting. So very excited to do that. And I know we're going to talk some about, some of the cards and some of the things that we have for the expansion coming. But because I haven't been playing, at first I was kind of upset with myself and thinking, okay, I gotta like go study all the cards because I haven't even like been keeping up with the reveals or anything. And then I thought, you know what, actually, I'm going to use that to my advantage this time. And I'm going to take a completely different approach than I normally do to theory crafting. And instead of like studying all the cards and like pre-building decks and kind of taking that approach, I'm actually going to take the approach of what is it like to play a new expansion or play new cards as more of like, maybe as a casual player, as someone who doesn't, follow all of the news and see all of the reveals. Maybe you see a couple cards here or there. Maybe you watch a stream or something and you might know a little bit. But I kind of want to take that approach. And I think during theory crafting, I might even try building some like quote unquote budget decks. I know we'll have the restriction of having to include 10 new cards, but I thought about that as well. And like, kind of taking that approach this time and seeing, hey, like what would it be like if you don't open a lot of packs, or if you, kind of take, maybe you're new to the game, or you're coming back after a while and you don't have a ton of cards, and kind of see how that goes. So yeah, just something that I haven't done before that I thought, I might as well, since things have been so crazy life-wise, I might as well, kind of twist that and try something new with the Hearthstone and theory crafting.
Yeah, very nice. And don't make the same mistake we did last time and not get out of casual mode, because it started us in casual mode.
Yeah.
We didn't notice, and we were just playing the housewife and smarms, and then we figured out, oh wait, this is not right. So
yes.
I'm sure they fixed it this time, but it's funny. I messaged the housewife yesterday, and I reminded her of that. She's like, don't talk about that. Or she quoted some movie. I know what she did last summer. I forget exactly what she said. It was like, that didn't happen or something. It was great. Pylet, how about yourself? What have you been doing outside of the world of Hearthstone?
Well, this weekend, trying not to melt and roast, we've been hit with this heat wave, and my air conditioning was not keeping up and now is not doing much of anything. So it's a little toasty, a little humid in the house, but we've got all the fans going, and we'll get someone out to take care of it this week. So get that unfortunate part out of the way. But outside of that, been trying to get some stuff done around the house before marching band kicks in next month and takes up all my time again. Spent a bunch of time kind of working on a room that was going to be the office and then became a catch-all junk storage room that is now almost set up to be an office again. Need to have my dad come do some electrical work, and then it'll be good to go. So I'll be able to set up in there. And then I had a few students who were part of a community theater show this weekend. They did a junior show where they had so many kids audition. I think I'm friends with the director, and I think that she said they had like 75 kids audition. So she didn't want to cut anyone with it being a kid's show. So she ended up doing 2 separate casts. And 2 of our band students were the lead for each one. They were doing Little Mermaid Junior, and we had 2 of our band students were Ariel for each cast. So I went to both of those to support them. And it was fantastic. So nice to see them doing things outside and kind of, developing and using those skills. As far as gaming, I finished up Mario Wonder this week. So awesome game. If you're into platformers and Mario, very recommended. I really like how they kind of set up the last couple levels and worlds to kind of progress progress as like a trial, like, oh, we're really going to focus on these different skills. Each one is really interesting, and kind of going back through, there's enough stuff to keep it entertaining, but not enough to be overwhelming to where I'm working on 100%ing that. I think I've got 2 of the worlds completed. I'll decide if I'm going to actually follow through with that once I start getting back to the special world. That's incredibly difficult again, because I'm like, yeah, I can do this. I'm good at this game. I'm doing well. And the first one kicked my butt. So we'll come back to that later. So I've been playing a little bit of that and Mario Kart on the new Switch, and then finally jumping in, at least for now, until I get distracted again. It's been on my gaming list to play through all the Zelda games, and now like 90% of them are on the Switch with the online stuff. So been starting to play through those again. I'm using a walkthrough for the original ones because I don't have time to wander in circles for the old NES games that don't tell you where to go and don't have a map and just expect you to, the playtime in those were you finding your way around, not difficulty. So I following a walkthrough until I get to some of the more modern ones. I think that's about it. Oh, played a little bit of Lorcana today. Most of the group that I play with has been really busy just because of summer stuff, and most of them having kids and graduation parties and vacations and everything. But gotten a couple of games in, kind of in an awkward spot to where I want to play it enough to where I want to build more competitive decks. But since I didn't start until year 2, I don't have most of the good cards from the first year. And Lorcana's announced that they're doing a rotation with the next set that comes out in August or September, whenever it is. So I'm in a spot where I don't want to purchase a bunch of cards that aren't going to be useful in a couple months, but also still kind of have something semi-competitive to play as we get into like set championships and stuff. So kind of taking the pilot program approach of I'm going to find something off meta or budget and see what I can do with it. So I've been trying to work on this Amber Ruby deck that's based on the racers from Wreck-It Ralph. Ended up working better than I thought it did because it has some really crazy pop-off turns. I went from nowhere close to winning to winning the game in one turn today when I didn't think I was going to be able to. I think I got a lucky top deck, but hoping to refine that deck a little bit to kind of make it work. So, Tito, what have you been up to?
Mostly trying not to cough. I got the postnasal drip allergy thing going, and it's been really annoying. And if I take a Dayquil, I'm usually fine, but I didn't realize I didn't take a Dayquil until right about time of the recording, so hopefully by the end I'll be okay. But I apologize for any coughing as we do. By the way, when we had NES, we had Nintendo Power, and that would give us like a hint. Like, by the way, have you tried the 5th bush in the Zelda thing to light on fire? And I was like, okay, great.
Yeah, none of that's actually in the game, so it doesn't even have a map. It shows a rectangle and it shows a blinking dot where you're at, but there's no map in any of them. It's so frustrating. I'm like, yeah, we're just gonna follow this thing. I'm done.
Yeah, no. And so I remember, I don't think I've told the story. Maybe I have, but when I was I had been in junior high, and we were playing Zelda. I was at my friend's house. We were having a sleepover, and we were playing Zelda. And he all of a sudden had some we were up super late. It was like 2 a.m. He had some major stomach pains, and his mom took him to the emergency room. And apparently he had a thing he had to get dealt with. It wasn't a big deal, but took care of it. But while he was gone, I beat the game. He was so mad.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Way to go.
I wasn't gonna quit. I think it was one of those ones where it's like, I don't think I'm gonna get this anyway. And I was like, whoop, I figured it out. Great, let's go. It's been kind of a quiet week for me. I had some more training this week. I have more training next week. We were gonna have my kid down for this take your kid to work day, but he's already in camp and there's other things going on, so we're probably just gonna punt that till next year, which is a little sad. He's a little upset about it, but I am too. But it's also just easier. There's not a lot going on for me though. Right now it's just kind of surviving and doing things. And I did buy 6 packs of the Final Fantasy Magic card thing. I don't think I pulled anything good. I don't know what's good anymore right now anyway. But they have like weird looking cards, and some of them look like cardboard, and some of them look like, I don't know, whatever. So we'll figure it out as we go. But I still have to finish curate. I think I have to finish going through my whites to the white magic cards, I should say, to finish curating what I have left. I think that's the only thing I have left, and then I can kind of like post my list or post my collection and say, okay, what kind of commander deck can I put together or something like that. But or at least the basis of Commander deck. Because most of my cards are older than Pilot, so it is what it is. So, Pilot, do we have any news this week?
We have a little bit of news, kind of. They're more of reminders of what we talked about last week. So, as we've kind of talked about already, we have theory crafting coming up this Thursday and Friday, depending on your time zone and when you want to watch. So we have the Americas and EU happening during the day on Thursday for if you live in the Americas, and then APAC happening kind of middle of the night and into their Friday. There are drops for that if you watch and have your accounts linked. And then on Saturday, we have the Rare and Rumble event that we talked about, and that also has drops. So check those out if you want some free packs just for watching. Be sure that you have the tab and the stream audio on. If you have it muted, it won't track your progress. So speaking from experience of forgetting to unmute occasionally and coming back 2 hours later, be like, okay, let's get my drop and go do whatever. And I had no progress. So be sure to do that if that's what you're watching them for. But also watch for fun new decks.
Awesome. And Pilot, by the way, I should have mentioned this. I think I did. Pilot will be, when we're theory crafting, Pilot will be around probably for a good portion of it. So that will be fine. But Pilot, since we're already kind of talking about new cards a little bit, although we haven't talked about any actually new cards, so I don't know. That wasn't really a good segue, but I'm going to make it a segue by segueing it to you. So we left off. We did 6 classes last week. We said we were going to finish this week. You lied, right? So go ahead and get started.
Yes, so we are recording on Sunday, which means we do not have the rogue cards left. So we can wildly speculate on what we think those cards will be, but you will know what they are before probably this podcast is out, depending on when Tito edits it. So we'll talk about rogue next week. But we do have Warrior, Priests, and Death Knight. Oh,
if you're a patron, you'll have the raw audio before rogue comes out. Just saying.
All right, so Torby, you can listen to this before and hear us, speculate before the cards are live. But we have Warrior, Priest, Death Knight, and Paladin to talk about, and we'll also get into some of the neutrals. Probably good that we just have those 4 because we have some really interesting cards here in these. So we're going to start with Warrior. We've had the Warrior quest from the initial reveal, where their quest is Enter the Lost City, where I am just calling it Don't Die Warrior. Because your quest is survive 10 turns, and the reward is Ladavorius, Gaze of the City, which is a 5-mana 8/8 battle cry. Get 2 random Journey to Ungoro quest rewards. Shuffle the rest into your deck. Those are from the original Ungoro expansion. So those are things like Crystal Core, which make your minions 5/5s, Time Warp, which gives you an extra turn, Megafin that fills your hand with random Murlocs, all the old quest rewards. You'll get 2 of them in hand, and the others will shuffle into your deck. So we did get a little bit of support for something like that, to where we have some control tools like Ladavorian Armorer, a 3-mana 3/3 battlecry, deal 2 damage to an enemy minion. If it dies, gain 5 armor. We have Windpeak Worm, 8-mana 6/6 battlecry, deal 5 damage, gain 5 armor. Kindred costs 3 less, so very similar to that old 8 cost elemental that we had. Shellnado, spend up to 5 armor for each spent, deal 1 damage to all enemies. And then a couple cards that could Fortify. Sorry, I knew I missed one. Fortify is probably the best one. Gain 3 armor, deal damage equal to your armor to an enemy minion. So it's gain armor and do a shield slam for 3 mana. And then a couple other cards that could kind of go between a couple archetypes settled in here. We also got support for an enraged / damage minion deck. It's a lot different than what we had from the last time we got support for this, to where it's not quite as snowbally, but more of buffing them in bigger chunks and summoning damaged copies, which is a little bit closer to what Enrage was back in I'm blanking on the expansion, which I should know because it's when I started playing.
The Outland.
Yeah, that's all I can think of. I can't remember the actual name of the expansion. So with a legendary to support that, a 6-mana 5/7 Nablia is what I'm going to say. Battlecry, summon copies of your damaged minions. Give the copies rush. We have a 2-mana 1/4 Stonecarver that buffs your damage minions. Give a random friendly damage minion +2/+2 at the end of your turn. And there's one more that I cannot find. Maybe that's it. And then a couple other cards that can kind of go across a few different decks here. I know a lot of people are excited for the Enraged support. That might just be the bubble that I find myself in, especially in Coin Concede, where they were very big on Enraged Warrior last time it was around. But the quest I'm excited for. I want to play this quest, and I haven't decided if it's good enough or not yet, because I don't know if it competes well enough with other control decks we have, and if it doesn't just lose to Kill Jaden and Wheel and Starships. So I don't know what your guys' thoughts are, but that's I need to see it in action. I think it's powerful, but I don't know if it's a strong enough win condition quite yet.
It's so slow. Wow. And it's not even like 10 mana, because you could like at least then, use your Turris ability and get your Druid ramp and whatnot, and maybe you get out a little faster. It's just survive 10 turns. I don't know. I think it's going to be too slow to be effective. And then it's just that they get shuffled in, right? So it's not even like it's, you get one and then the rest get shuffled in or whatever it is.
You get 2 in hand.
You get 2. Okay.
2 in your hand.
And there's no guarantee they go together. I think it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to playing it. I'll probably get addicted to it because bad decks that are bad are kind of my jam. So that explains a lot. But yeah, no, I think it's just too slow. And I wouldn't be surprised if before the end of the expansion, this is survive 8 turns or something. What do you think, DragonRider?
So these are all, again, like kind of my off the cuff immediate thoughts, because I have not been keeping up with the reveals. So yeah, it seems slow to me too. Just looking at it. But again, as has already been mentioned, like it's kind of one of those you have to see, because quests in particular are something that historically have been kind of hit or miss, right? So it's like, they're either great or they're not great at all usually. So this could fall in either camp, but I feel like I'm just going to put it in the it's probably not great camp right now, but we'll see if there is any adjustments to it, or if anything changes, or if there's more support. There's always the possibility that when they plan out these things like these quests and these cards for these expansions, that they're gonna put support in for the mini set. So we could see more support for it, and maybe it becomes better in the mini set without it having to be changed or anything too. So that's something that I always kind of consider is what cards are they thinking about putting in the future that affect these? So that's kind of where I'm at with that right now.
Yeah, I will say I do like how Control Warrior for the next year and a half has a 1-card win condition now, to where any Control Warrior just plays the quest, because Control Warrior is surviving 10 turns if it's going to win the game anyways. So I do kind of like that, to where a Control Warrior has that win condition set. I just don't know if it competes well enough with what they've been printing for other control decks, to where is it better, even in Warrior, is it better than Hydration Station right now, and bringing back Tortola and Ziliax and all this other stuff? It doesn't beat Protoss Mage, I don't think, unless we're getting a ton of armor. It doesn't beat Wheel Lock, because this is going to, you survive 10 turns and then their Wheel of Death goes off. I don't know if it beats Kill Jaden. I don't know if it beats Starship DK. So I don't know if it's the best control deck even. If it's good enough to play, it's going to run over any aggro deck, which might be good enough. But I don't know if it stays control heavy. It might be losing to too many control decks to be good enough. Now, I will say, if the first two that you get in hand are, Barnabas and where'd the other one go? Carnassa, where Queen Carnassa, to where you get all the raptors and then make all the minions in your deck cost 0. That's probably going to win the game, and that's probably strong enough. But those are very random. You're just getting 2 randoms. You're not selecting the 2 that you get into your hand. So who knows?
So what you're saying is that potentially gets better next year after rotation when all that other stuff rotates out.
Possibly. I could see that.
Yeah.
I could very much see that. And I feel like the next class that we have to talk about is also in the same boat. We spent a lot of time talking about the quest. Any thoughts on like the Enrage? We got a teaser that we were getting Enrage support with the cards that they put in core, because they have a lot of, plus attack, wind damage, and things like that. And we do have a neutral that does support it, Undercover Cultist, which is, it's a reborn and has extra attack while damaged. I don't know if we have enough snowbally stuff to get it there yet. Maybe it supports like the Dark Gift deck, because you're getting a lot of stuff that's buffed.
I personally really like Stonecarver. Yeah. I like Stonecarver. Just kind of, again, looking at these for essentially the first time.
Yes.
To me, it stands out as something that can probably fit into multiple decks, not even just the Enrage thing, but it's flexible. And it's like you're getting extra stats. It does happen at the end of your turn, so it's not a battle cry that you're getting immediately, right? But that would be, I think, fitting more even for Enrage if it were a battle cry. But I don't know, the 4 health and it happening at the end of the turn, you're at least going to get that trigger once, and you can make trades on your turn beforehand to make sure you have damaged minions. So it, there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of spots that it can fit in, and I can see that being put into warrior decks, even if it's not like a specific Enrage warrior style deck.
It's also designed to kind of go with the legendary, right? Nabilia, the Watcher, because it's like you create the extra copies, they rush into things, you value trade, and then they get +2/+2. So, and I'm also looking forward to playing this with the card we got in the mini set, where you give all your minions plus something, and then you draw 3, but you have 3 turns to play them, or they explode or whatever, or they get discarded.
Oh yeah.
So I think that'll be fun.
Yeah, I could see that. We also have one that I didn't talk about, Story of Sulfuris, one of our story cards, where it's 5 mana fire spell, swap your hero power to deal 8 damage to a random enemy. After 2 uses, swap back. We just put that at the top end of an aggro deck, don't we? And just use it as a Scuff Metamorphosis, probably. Just
yes, I love it.
Do some rushers, trade off the board, and hit the button to deal 8 to face. So that seems we're getting this. This is where I go with warrior. I'm not a control warrior player, but I will find a way to make warrior aggro in some way or another. To where I could see,
please.
I could see that top, being the top end of something. So speaking of classes that are normally slow that I try to make fast, we have priest, and the quest is what we're gonna start with, because there's a lot to figure out here. So the quest is a double quest, is reach equilibrium. Quest, cast 5 holy spells, reward life's breath. Quest, cast 5 shadow spells, reward death's touch. So when you play this, you will get 2 separate quests on your portrait, one for holy spells, one for shadow spells. When you finish the holy spells, you'll get Solitos, life's breath, 5 mana 4/4 elemental, taunt, and battle cry. Summon a copy of this. When you finish the shadow one, you'll get Solitos, death's touch, 5 mana 4/4 elemental, reborn, death rattle, deal 5 damage to a random enemy. And both of them have the text, if you're holding both halves of Solitos, combine, and that takes everything and combines it together into a 5-mana 8/8 elemental, Taunt Reborn, Battlecry, summon a copy, Death Rattle, deal 5 damage to a random enemy. Now, the more that I look at this, the better I think it is. I don't know if it's good enough to have as your only win condition. I feel like it's in a similar spot like the Warrior quest, to where I don't know if you can rely on just that to get you there, because it's just random enemy that you're dealing damage to. But that is a lot of damage, and they were talking about on Coinconcy this week, we do have a new card in neutral that copies an elemental in your hand, which means you can copy the quest reward in your hand and then have 2 of them that are coming back, or that you're playing. It is a pretty significant deck building ask. Looking through, we will have, for standard legal spells, we will have 11 shadow spells and 12 holy spells. They are very all over the place, because you probably don't want to play things like Sensory Deprivation, which is a 6-cost shadow spell in this deck, or maybe not necessarily things like Void Shard or things like that. We do have a decent number of cheap spells, especially with Nightshade Tea. That is the drink. That's a shadow spell. We have a decent number of 1 and 2 cost holy spells, but we don't have holy spells that can repeat unless you're doing light speed, which, if you forgot what that card is, because I forgot until I got it off of the Imbue Hero Power today. It's a repeatable this turn, give a minion +1/+2 and rush holy spell that costs 2. So it's a pretty big ask. And we do have some support added in the set, but I don't know. It's exciting. I think it's a decent card. It'll just be a question of, is it good enough? Because I don't know if it's enough damage to finish the game.
I like it. I still haven't completely wrapped my head around it, but I'm not sure. Is it something the priests want to be doing? Maybe. I mean, it sounds more like up our alley than, say, Wicked Good's alley. So I think we'll have more fun with it than he will. But I could be wrong.
I thought they sounded fairly excited, but I might have been misreading it.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The Taunt Reborn Death Rattle combination scares me a lot. Because I think, especially getting a copy, it's so if you're looking at aggro or mid-range style decks, they're going to have to attack into that, and then they're either, spending multiple minions to attack in, kill it off, and then losing another minion because of the Death Rattle, or they're taking damage to their face because of the Death Rattle. If they're not answering it, those minions are just smacking them in the face. So I don't know, that this kind of scares me a little bit in terms of its power level, but it does require a lot of pieces to get it, to actually get to that point of having them combined and getting that final piece and playing those minions out. So it's kind of takes a lot to get there, which I think is the trade-off.
There.
Yeah. I guess
that's not
one
all
thing
we have
I also,
priest, right? Oh, good.
No, it's not. One thing I also keep forgetting about is it's also 2 8/8s with Taunt and Reborn that you're playing if you're playing the combined. I mean, if they don't, you might not need extra damage if they can't kill both of those, because then you're just hitting them with giants. And that might be enough damage in addition to the Death Rattle. I did see Tonberry Blue was talking about today doing a very slimmed down on minions version of it, mainly spells, and doing Raza, the resealed, to shuffle 0-cost copies into your deck. And if we do something like that, then it's probably good enough as your soul win condition. So
yeah,
I don't know if Priest is doing something like that as a control deck. I think I'm okay with that rather than just grinding things out and playing another card that we'll talk about here in a little bit that's probably overrated. But we have a few cards that kind of support this style of deck, support the quest. We have a 1-cost 2/1 Glade Ecologist. Death Rattle, get a 1-cost holy spell that gives a minion +1 or -2, or +2 or -2 health. That might just be good in an aggressive priest also, because it's a decent 1-drop. a 3-cost, 3/4 Twilight Mender, Death Rattle, get a random Holy and Shadow spell. We have 2 4-cost spells that were revealed, I think, in the initial reveal with the Kindred, where we have Graved On Void Bulb, 4-cost Shadow spell, summon a random 4-cost minion and give it Taunt. Kindred, do it again. And a 4-cost Holy spell, Graved On Sunbloom, draw 2 cards. Kindred, they cost 2 less. And we have one other card here that really supports it. There it is. Glade Song Siren, a 6-cost 4/7 Naga lifesteal, costs 1 if you played a Holy and Shadow spell this turn, which means you could get this out as early as turn 3 if you play a Nightshade Tea and a 1-cost Holy spell, which is gross, but possible in the quest deck. We have one other Shadow spell that comes with it. The rest of these cards don't necessarily all go together in a deck, but I think that they're all very interesting in unique ways. We have a 5-mana Shadow spell, Resuscitate. Resurrect a 1, 2, and 3-cost minion and give them Reborn. So it's very similar to Rally from Dark Moon Fair, which was a 4-cost spell, but didn't give them Reborn. This gives them the Reborn and is 5 mana. I think that this is the top end of an aggro deck. I don't think this goes in the quest deck, unless you're desperate for Shadow spells. But I think you top this out in the current Menagerie Priest, and you just, really fine tune your 1, 2, and 3 drops. I also heard talk about putting this in Protoss, because then you get Sentry and Void Ray back, most likely, which seems pretty good as well.
Yeah, no, it looks fun. I mean, I also see we're going to generate a lot of this stuff and imbue Priest, and it's going to be really annoying. Like, it's you know what's going to happen, where you're going to have a game 1 and somebody's going to generate a Story of Amara, and you're just going to be so upset, and they'll do it more than once, and it's just going to be like, come on. But no, I mean, I'm not necessarily looking to do the quest deck, although I probably will. I think there's some fun cards here. I like the 7-mana 7/7 is a bit expensive, but whenever you heal an enemy, whenever you heal an enemy, this attacks it. That's kind of a weird, interesting kind of.
I love that card. I don't know how to make it work, but I love that card. I'm going to lose so many games trying to make that work.
Yeah, no, I have no idea. Maybe, yeah, nope. I'm sorry, I got nothing. But we'll figure it out. And whenever another friendly minion attacks, set its health equal to this minion's health. Like, there's going to be some wombo combo weirdness going on here. I don't know what we're going to do, but I think it looks fun. I mean, Priest, I don't know if it's good, but at least it looks interesting. What do you think, DragonRider?
Man, again, this is the first time I'm looking at some of these cards. My brain is already going. Like, this is when you've played card games as long as I have, your brain just immediately starts coming up with stuff. And I'm sitting here, I pulled up all of the standard Priest cards. There is actually a decent amount of pretty cheap Shadow and Holy spells.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm wondering, can we actually make this a pretty low cost quest deck that tops out with playing the big elementals? And I kind of want to try it. I usually don't play Priest, but I'm kind of like, this seems interesting and like something I want to do. I do like elementals though, so that's enticing. The other Priest cards, like Pylet said, they don't feel like they all fit in the same deck. They kind of go in different places, I feel like. But the quest is kind of actually speaking to me the more I think about it.
Yeah. I like the bird. I like Arceus, which is a 3-mana 1/6. Whenever another friendly minion attacks, set its health equal to this. I like how that sets up for like the current low to the ground priests we have, just because you put all these 1 and 2 costs on board that they're like, I can deal with those later, and they just drop this, and now they suddenly have 6 health. Seems okay, especially on curve. And if we get some sort of buff priest deck, this becomes insane. Wilted Shadow, I don't know. I want to find how to break this, but I haven't figured out how it gets. but it's one of the most interesting cards I think that they've made in quite a while. And then Tito had mentioned the story of Amara to where it'll be very tilting off of Imbue. But I think if people are running it in their deck, then I think that they're severely overrating the card, because if you get to play a 10 cost spell that sets your health to 40, then you're probably already winning that game. If you got the chance to play that and not die before or directly after it. So I think that that's going to be the card that people are going to have the strongest reaction to, and probably not a warranted reaction about a week into the expansion.
Yeah, and there's another card we used to play that was kind of similar to the bird. I can't remember what it was. It was like another one.
Yes,
it was a legendary.
I can't. I'm blanking on the name. But that was the one. It was whenever there's a couple of them. There's one before I was playing that it was when you summon a minion, you set its health equal to that one's. It's like Ahmed or something like that. Of. So, and then we had the one from a couple years ago where, when you cast a spell on a minion, it set its attack and health to the higher of the two, which is different than this, but kind of a similar vein that Priest has been going, of kind of these buff and set things to another thing's stats. So probably get some sort of buff Priest support here again soon.
Fair. I would like them to put Benedictus back in the core set and go that direction, but we'll do what we can.
Yeah.
I'm a Death Knight.
So Death Knight, a lot more streamlined than Priest, so this should go a little bit quicker. Death Knight, another one where we've had the quest for a while, but haven't had the cards to talk about it. So its quest is Reanimate the Terror. It is 2 blood, 1 unholy runes. The quest is spend 18 corpses. Your reward is Tyrax Bone Terror, a 5-mana 8/8 undead beast. Death Rattle, open Terror's Grave. It has Death Rattle, resummon Tyrax. So the Terror's Grave is a 5-mana location with 2 durability. Deal 4 damage, Death Rattle, resummon the quest reward. So this is an endless back and forth unless it gets poofed or silenced by something. So a solid kind of win condition for what is probably going to be a blood Death Knight, more than just making you want to cry and close the game after 17 Vampiric Bloods, which I'm okay with if we're having control decks have things that actually end the game, other than I have 100 health and I'm just going to sit here and let you stare at it. So I think that that's solid. I don't know how quickly we spend 18 corpses in that deck, especially with the double blood requirement, because a lot of the corpse generating cards, a lot of the tokeny cards are double unholy or have frost, but I think we have enough stuff that we can get there, I think, somewhat quickly. We do have a new 5-mana card, reanimated Pterodax, 5 cost, 4/3 undead beast, Russian lifesteal. It costs corpses instead of mana, so there's 5 corpses if you have them. Paleomancy technically could go in the deck. 3 cost spell, discover an undead, spend 5 corpses to keep all 3 instead. I don't know if we're playing that card because I don't think that card is very good, but if you're desperate for corpse spenders, maybe that might be something you discover off of a discover a spell, and hey, now I can use this to spend corpses instead of something else. But it's an interesting quest. I think it's going to be okay, but I don't think it's going to be a game-breaking quest like maybe some of the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, it seems fun. And it also seems like you're really going to get frustrated when the things just keep recycling, because it'll always happen, right? You'd be like, no, I just need to... never mind. Wait, nope, never mind. So, Reanimate Paradox is interesting, which is like it costs corpses instead of mana. It's a 5-mana 4/3 with Russian lifesteal. So yeah, that's a good way to. But then if that card could be in your hand, you could have all the mana in the world. If you're out of corpses, it just sits there. So that's like an interesting mechanic there. No, I think the quest is going to be fun. It's the first Death Knight quest we have too, right? So this will be new ground. So let's we had to do something, and yeah, see how it goes. What do you think, Dragon Rider?
Yeah, it seems really interesting. I feel like it lends itself to like a mid-rangey style deck. Play some kind of low curve minions, get some stuff out early so that you can basically you're playing them to die, or you're playing things like body bagger to gain corpses, things like that. So you're gaining a corpse and then it's dying and giving you another corpse. You're playing things with, as Pylet said, like token generators or like death rattles or reborn. So you get more corpses, and then you spend those corpses with other cards, as you mentioned, like Paleomancy and the Pterodax, to trigger that quest. So it feels like you have to put in the work of getting that stuff and then spending it to even get that quest reward and then play it out. So to me, it kind of feels very similar to the priest quest, where it's like you have to put all these pieces together and build up to it first and then get to that point. And then I feel like then you're putting on some pressure, but I don't know if it's going to be the only win condition in that deck. You're going to have other stuff, or you're going to have to maybe even play it more aggressive in some matchups, with the early game minions that you have. Just try to like beat some decks down, and not even care about completing the quest, which feels weird. But I feel like that's what the gameplay is going to end up being like, just from my experience with past quests and stuff like that. So seems odd.
I think Death Knight does have the card I am least looking forward to seeing played against me, and that is Wave of Tar, which is the 4-mana spell, 1 frost, 1 unholy. Deal 2 damage to all enemy minions. Enemy minions cost 2 more next turn. That's going to be one of those cards that you don't like seeing. You really, really don't like seeing, but you're going to enjoy playing it because it's going to be great. And the High Cultist, the other legendary High Cultist, Heron, has a returning mechanic that we've seen, I think, once or twice, but it's 8 mana, 8/6 battle cry. Summon 2 death rattle minions from your deck. They fight. I don't know if it'll only summon 1 if you only have 1, or it has to summon 2. I would assume if you only have 1, it'll only summon the 1, but this has potential to like let
1.
you. Yeah, because sometimes it used to be like, you remember some of those, it wouldn't work if you didn't have at least the right number. So I think they fixed all those in the past. But no, this seems, that's a fun card. There's going to be some kind of wonky combo with that as well. That's just going to break things. But it's probably too slow to be too bad. 8 mana is a lot. So I almost see this like they have it with the Bone Chill Stegodons. You draw 2 of those. That's a 6 mana 6/3 death rattle, deal 6 damage to 3 random enemies. So that's interesting too. And I bet you it says 3 random enemies because of the High Cultist. Because if it was just 3 enemies, that would be like a 18 damage in one card, which they probably didn't want to do if you happen to clear the board. So that makes sense. Death Knight looks fun. The quest, I don't know if the quest is going to be good. I'm not even going to begin to try to guess. I do like that there's not a ton of blood support here, because blood is slow and painful and sad. But yeah, no, I think it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to playing. I'm looking forward to playing all the classes, actually. Like, even if I don't feel like they're going to be strong enough to, even if I'm skeptical about the strength of them, they all look fun. So hopefully, I'm underestimating the power. But I think they wanted to bring the power down. And I feel like they are. And I feel like these quests in general have brought the power level of the quest back down. So I don't feel like they are as over the top as some of the previous quests we've had, where like mage quests and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah, they're not Skullomance quest. Was Stormwind. Stormwind, sorry.
Stormwind, yes.
Wrong S expansion. They're not Stormwind quest for sure, to where those were incredibly powerful win conditions, but I think that they're definitely a little bit better than some of the older quests, to where you can play them and use it as maybe not your primary, but a pretty supporting win condition. I am excited for a lot of these cards because Tito mentioned there's no really support for blood runes, which means that there's a lot of frost and unholy here, and a lot of it I think fits right into the deck that I've been playing, that stuffy double frost 1 unholy deck. With like Dread Raptor as a 4-mana 3/4 Battlecry, draw a Death Rattle minion that costs 3 or less. Kindred, it costs 0. That card is nuts. The Stegodon that you already talked about, I think, is really strong. Crypt Map is a 1-cost double frost rune card. Discover a frost rune card. If you play it this turn, also pick one of the others. Should be decent and kind of take the spot that we were filling in with some of the kind of just generic discover cards to fill out a 30-card deck. I think Heron might be the card that finally pushes the bigger Death Rattle deck over, because we have Stegodon now, which is the main one, but I could very easily see you playing that along with like Travel Security, which is a 6-cost Death Rattle Taunt, summon a random 8-cost minion. I could see you playing it with the dragon from last set, Nithendra, because then the Stegodon dies. I think you have to really handpick the Death Rattles that you're playing it with, and really decide if you're going to go all in on those, because there's a lot of really good cheap Death Rattles, and you have to decide if that's worth it, because are you going to play a Death Knight deck without Dreadhound Handler is basically what you're trying to decide. Because that is a Death Rattle or Chillfall and Baron, and maybe you just play them and accept that sometimes that's what you're pulling. But it's interesting. It brings up some fun deck building. And then we have one more class that Tito, as a Paladin main, I'm going to pass it over to you to talk about Paladin and how many Murlocs we're playing.
I'm not a Paladin main. They just say that. But yeah, this is so they, in true Murloc fashion, the quest is dive the Golok depths, and this is a repeatable quest. Summon 5 Murlocs. Reward Murlocs you summon gain +1/+1. Now, is this cumulative? Do we know?
Yes, it is.
So next time you do, it'll be +2/+2. So eventually, if the game's gone that long and you're playing Murlocs, you probably lost. But we got some interesting Murlocs, and we have this. I like the dinosaur here. It's a Murloc beast, which is weird to say, a Murloc beast together. I don't know how that happened or who authorized that. We were so busy wondering if we could. We never thought about if we should. But this is a 6-mana 6/3 rush Death Rattle. Summon 3 2/1 Murlocs. Give them each a random bonus effect. And remember, the quest is summon Murlocs, not play Murlocs. So that's going to be a good card in that set. You got the Hot Spring Glider, which is a 3-mana 2/4 Murloc. Your next Murloc costs 2 less, which is going to help out with the Tyrannogill. It also has Kindred, and it gains Divine Shield. So, although that's kind of anti-synergetic, but hey, value trades with Rush, great. I don't know. It looks fun. I don't know how excited I get about Murlocs and Paladin. I definitely didn't mind when we were playing Sir Finley and stuff like that, but I don't really feel like I never really understood why we have Murlocs and Paladin, why Paladin is the Murloc class. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So I mean, you had to pick somebody, right? But what class would be Murloc? Probably Shaman, and they do Murlocs. But I don't know. I'm looking forward to playing it. I don't get it. Their map is a 1-mana Discover a Murloc. If you play it this turn, also pick one of the others. So that's going to be a very powerful card, especially if you can get a cheap Murloc. And I haven't looked at the core set to see how many Murlocs we have. I'm assuming we have a few. It's interesting. I don't know how excited I am about it, and that doesn't mean I don't think it'll be good. That doesn't mean I don't think it'll be fun, but it doesn't really play into kind of the Paladin fantasy or whatever you want to call it for me. So, yeah. What do you think there, Pilot?
See, I thought that you would be totally in on this quest because it's buff. I'm like, I feel like this would reach that kind of pure paladin hand buff paladin that you enjoyed playing, because you're just constantly buffing up all these little Murlocs. This is fun. I really like how they did this because it does give something that is tribal kind of some late game, which we normally don't see from the Murloc decks, because now all your Murlocs are staying threats the entire game. As far as core, we only have one class card in core, but it's probably one of the best ones. We have the Underlight Angling Rod, which was the 3-mana 3/2 weapon. After your hero attacks, add a random Murloc to your hand. That card is really good. Neutrals are mainly kind of a lot of the ones from this set, or the ones that we've already been seeing, like Mermy. Braingill is going to be really good in that deck. Battlecry, give all friendly Murlocs Death Rattle, draw a card. We probably play Amalgam in that deck because it keeps all the buffs constantly. We probably play Grunty at the top end because it's a quest completion and a big, bomb, build a board at the end. One thing with this quest that is not overly intuitive because other cards have not worked this way, once it ticks up to 5, the reward will trigger, and then if you're summoning multiple at a time, like if you're playing Grunty or if you're playing the Tyrannogill, if the first Murloc from the Death Rattle triggers a quest, it'll give the buff, and then the next 2 will start to tick the next repeat of the quest. That didn't always work like that with old quests. So the other one that we had that was most likely it was the Demon Hunter quest from last time around, where the drawing cards, if you overdrew the requirements, it didn't matter. It didn't restart the count. This one does because it is specifically repeatable, so you don't have to worry about, I have to summon exactly these 2 Murlocs or these 1 Murloc before these happen. Just play them, summon them, and it'll work like you want it to. So I'm excited for the quest.
I am looking forward to playing it. I like the quest. I like what you say is correct. It's going to be fun. I will probably play the crap out of it. I just don't understand the Murloc Paladin connection. That's all. Like it doesn't make sense to me. And if I remember in Ungoro, there was like a Paladin that we find and we help save, and we like in Warcraft, and I always thought that maybe that would be kind of like a direction they would go with, kind of like the Paladin quest or something like that. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fine. I'm going to enjoy it. You're going to be in 3 weeks, going to be like, why is Tito playing nothing but Murloc Paladin? I'm excited to have Grunty available because that's going to be, pretty good right there. That's going to be pretty much a quest tick on its own, and, do lots of damage. So that's going to be almost like a finisher at that point, or close to it. So now we know why we have Murky. It's going to be fine. What do you think there, DragonRider?
Oh my gosh. Forget anything that I said I was excited for in the previous cards that we've talked about. All Paladin, all Murloc, all day. That's it. That's I saw these and I was like, yep, this is what I'm gonna play. I have a special place in my heart for Murloc Paladin because the old school Murloc Paladin, like Anything Can Happen deck, is the first deck that I hit Legend with. So there's that. Paladin is one of my favorite classes. I think Hunter and Paladin are my 2 favorites. So, Paladin, and I love Murlocs. The Tyrannogill, how can you not love Murlocs hiding in a dinosaur suit? It's fantastic. I love it so much. And cards like Ready the Fleet, 3-mana spell, give +1/+2 to a friendly minion and your other minions that share a type with it. Seems pretty sweet too. To be able to like play out the quest on 1, maybe play something on 2, kind of set up turn 5 to have some Murlocs out, play Ready the Fleet. I think even this kind of makes me want to play Wild. Is that weird? I kind of want to play Wild and play this. It is weird. I want to turn my Paladin hero power into summoning Murlocs and then play this.
Yep.
Yeah. And that sounds fun too. Um, but yeah, I am absolutely in love with this. I want to play this. It's kind of a bummer that the quest is legendary, so that, it doesn't really fit with the idea that I had of like a budget deck or like, but if it's the only legendary, then that might be more feasible. So that's definitely something that I'm going to look at for theory crafting. But yeah, give me the Murlocs. That's all I got to say. I'm so excited for these cards.
No, it's gonna be it will be fun for sure.
Yeah, we do have a couple other Paladin cards that aren't Murlocs. There's a lot of Murlocs because they needed to support it. But we have another one of the kind of more interesting weird cards of the set as the other legendary, a 4-mana 2/7 Ido of the Thresh Fleet. While this is alive, you get a 2-cost holy spell that gives a minion +2/+2 and Divine Shield. So the way that this works is as soon as it is on your board, you have that spell in your hand, and it is constantly there and repeat it, there for use until it dies, or goes away in some way if it gets transformed, and it instantly disappears. So very similar to Sister Svalna that Priest had a few sets ago with the permanent spell, with the difference being this isn't permanent; it goes away as soon as that minion is off the board. So it's interesting. It's tricky to fit in because I like this card. And I really like Thresh-Rider's Blessing, a 5-cost holy spell. Give a friendly minion +4/+4 and Death Rattle summon a random 4-cost minion. I really like those cards if we had ways to discount holy spells, which I don't think we do right now. Unless you can think of something that I am not thinking of because I haven't played much Paladin.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head now.
So I think if we get a spell discount, those cards become absolutely bonkers, which is probably why they cost 4 and 5 to start with. But I could see those being very powerful very soon. And we also have a 4-mana 2/5 beast, Creature of the Sacred Cove, that repeats holy spells. At the end of your turn, recast a random holy spell you cast this turn, targets this if possible. So typically not a turn 4 play, but something to kind of rebuild a board later on.
Yep, no, looks fun.
So that takes us through the classes we have. We have not talked about the neutrals yet. So I have written out, we'll talk about all the legendaries, and then if you two have any notable other cards that you want to talk about, feel free. I know that I put down a couple for myself, but we have 5 legendary minions in neutral. We have Krog, Crater King, which I think we referenced last week. It is a 9-cost 8/7 beast. At the end of your turn, set the attack and health of all enemy minions to 1. So powerful effect. It is 9 mana, but it is an aura, not a battle cry. So if you're able to cheat it out, it does work. We have City Chief Esho, which is a 6 mana 5/7 battle cry. If every minion in your deck shares a minion type, give your other minions +2/+2 wherever they are. So does a aura buff for those minions, but you have to have that specific minion type as the only one, or not the only one, as a shared type in your deck. So thinking of Shaman with the Elemental Shaman that has a lot of dual type minions, that would work as long as they are all elemental something, but does not work if you have like the legendary that does not have a type in your deck unless you have already drawn it and you're willing to take that risk. We have Torga, a 4-mana 2/7 undead beast, battle cry, draw a kindred card and another card that activates it. We have Umbra, which we've already been playing with as a pre-release, which triggers the death rattles. And then we also have Elise the Navigator, a 4-mana 3/5 battle cry. If your deck started with 10 cards at different costs, craft a custom location. And this is very similar to other, like the Kazakus craft things that we've had, to where you pick, 1, 5, or 10 mana, and then you pick 2 effects that go on it that scale based on the mana cost that you picked. So, like we have things like Death Rattle, deal 3 damage to all enemies, deal 10 damage to all enemies, or I'm guessing deal 5, and I can't find that one quickly because they're not in order on the website with like all the things together. Oh, yes, they are. I just scrolled down. So deal 10, 5, or 3 damage to all enemies to where it scales with it. But as a steep ask to have 10 different costs in your deck. We do have things like Ceaseless Expanse that cost 125 that take up a spot on their own. But probably my first reaction is that's probably a Priest, Warrior, or Druid card that is slow enough to include something from 0 to 10 or 1 to 10 or 1 to 125 or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to playing this on Thursday. And that's probably going to be the first deck I make, is try to make something with Elise work. I'm always surprised that we have the card that the Sapper or whatever it is that is location destruction, and I'm surprised that it's never run, because we always run weapon destruction when there's like weapons that you really kind of need to take care of. And it just surprises me that there's so much locations being played that we don't run those, because they are, problematic at times. But I think if this card gets any traction at all, you're probably going to see people running the location destruction, because you're going to have to. But since we were just talking about Paladin, like, it feels like Torga and City Chief Esho both slot right into something like that kind of a deck, because 4 mana, 2/7, tutor 2 different Murlocs, and then Battle Cry. If every minion in your deck shares a minion type with like a tribal deck, I mean, that just those are going to be played probably in Shaman and Paladin a lot. I think they're going to be really, really strong. You have Questing Assistant, which is a 2 mana 3/2 Battle Cry. If you played a quest this game, deal 2 damage. That almost feels like it is going to be in every quest deck ever, because it's just a nice little tempo kind of shifting card there. Krog Crater King looks fun. I don't know if it's any good, but it's going to be fun to generate and whatnot. There's a lot of dinosaurs in the set. There's a lot of elementals and beasts. And we also have I think you mentioned this. We have the Rock Skipper, which is the 2 mana 1/3 Murloc Battlecry. Get a 1 cost rock that deals 3 damage. So there's a lot of powerful cards here. It's going to be a fun set, I think. I don't know where the power level is, like we talked about, and that's okay. I'm not looking to have Zerg level powers. Remember how Pylet said that Zerg are not going to be strong at all? Just want to remind him of that right there.
Thanks.
But like, I don't feel like there's, looking at the set, I think the only class I'm really particularly worried about is Rogue being overpowered. But that's only because we haven't seen the cards yet. Are there any of these neutrals that have stood out to you there, Don?
There's actually 2 that stand out to me. They're not the legendaries, but the Primal Fin Challenger. It is a 3 mana 3/2 Murloc with Battlecry. Your next Kindred triggers twice. There is another Kindred Murloc that summons 2 1/1 Murlocs with Rush. So you could trigger that twice as a Murloc, but you could also use this in other decks just for the Kindred effects. So I think that might be seen in multiple decks. So that one stands out to me. And the Dissolving Ooze. I've always loved the Ooze cards. So this one really caught my eye, but it's like really exciting for this one, I think. It's really different than the other ones. It's a 3 mana 3/3 Battlecry. Destroy a friendly minion. Spit out the bones of its attack and health into your hand. So the previous ones, it was kind of like you would get a copy, or you'd get some other effect like on the board when you destroyed. But this time it's actually putting the attack and health into your hand instead of on the board. So, but there is still the destroying the friendly minion. So you can trigger death rattles, you can get reborn effects, you can do that kind of stuff. And then buff stuff up in your hand. So, and for 3 mana, honestly, that's pretty great. I think being able to even like trade something in, or buff something up on board and then spit that stuff into that attack and health into your hand, continue buffing stuff. Makes a lot of sense for multiple decks. We already talked about a card that adds some buff in Paladin. There's some other stuff, right? So I don't know. This one seems really cool to me. I like the oozes, and that's a different effect than what we've seen before.
Yeah, and it's going to fit right into like a buff, any kind of buff deck probably. So maybe even like the paladin, not the paladin, the hunter, the egg hunter, maybe, just another way to destroy eggs, get more health. I don't know. So yeah, I think it's fun.
Yeah. I also, two that stood out to me, we have a lot of aggro support in neutral. We have some really good 1 and 2 drops in this set. I think the rock skipper was already mentioned. But we also have a couple things that are like super overstated with downside effects, but they might be overstated enough that it doesn't matter and you play it in a hyper aggro deck. So we have a 2-mana 3/5 Curious Explorer. Death Rattle, reduce the cost of a minion in your opponent's hand by 2. If you're trying to kill them on turn 4, I don't think you care if their stuff costs 2 less. And we also have, there's a 4 cost that I can't find. There it is. 4-mana 4/7 Willful Watcher, taunt, Death Rattle to destroy the top 3 cards of your deck. We also have another card that destroys cards in your own deck here, so I'm interested if we get something relating to that other than Ceaseless Expanse and Kill Jaden and stuff like that. But those are cards that stood out to me as really overstated cards that the downside might not be too bad if you're playing like a hyper aggro deck because you're trying to kill them fast enough, or if you destroy the 3 cards on top of your deck, you just pretend that they were on the bottom and you were going to get to them anyways, kind of like what we did with Waste Remover with the 7/7 in Warlock when we were doing sludges. So those are the 2 that kind of stood out to me.
Yeah, there's also the Tortellin Storyteller, which is a 2-mana 1/2 that at the end of your turn get +1/+1 to each friendly minion of a different type. That's going to be probably in any Menagerie deck you play too. So I think that's going to be a good card. All right. So I guess we speculate on Rogue. I'm going to guess that they're going to play a lot of cards really quickly, maybe bounce some things to the hand, and they're going to do toxic things that really annoy people. That's my prediction. How about yourself there, DragonRider? You got any predictions for Rogue?
I'm trying to think of how they fit it into the Ungoro theme. So I feel like there's going to be a lot of like maybe searching and exploring, which translates to like card draw. That's kind of my prediction.
Pylet?
So I'm using the 3 clues that we have here. We have 1 rogue card, Cultist Map. 2 costs, discover a card from your deck. If you play this card, if you play it, also pick one of the others. And then for the pre-release brawl, we were told that Rogue is getting 2 extra cards that they're allowed to play. They can play Agency Espionage, which is the 4 cost shuffle, random cards from every other class into your deck. They cost 1. And Adaptive Amalgam. And I don't know what we're doing with Adaptive Amalgam, but I am excited because I feel like that means that we're getting some sort of shuffle rogue thing, and that is totally my jam and something that I played way too much Ticketmaster. I played that Shekzara, the legendary that no one else played, that discover a card from your deck and draw all copies of it. Did that while everyone else was trying to do rogue things and had a blast with it. So my wild speculation is something with shuffling things in, and I could see the quest being that. Because I don't think that we get a quest with Burgle stuff because we already have way too much Burgle stuff. And if they do the quest supporting that, then that's going to be busted.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah. I think you're on the right path, and we will find out tomorrow. All right, so does anybody have any other final thoughts on the set before we wrap things up here? I'll take... You're more excited than you normally are, so I kind of like this.
I'm normally really excited about the new sets. I think I'm more confident in my excitement about what cards are going to be good and bad this time than I was when I said that Zerg was going to be terrible and unplayable. Yeah, just delete that episode. So that was, yeah. But it's exciting because it's so unique, and a lot of the stuff they're trying a lot of new things, and it's things that we haven't seen as unique effects and unique ways that these cards are interacting that I think, like Tito said, it doesn't. I don't know if it ups the power level to a crazy level, but it kind of shifts it and makes you think about it in a different way, and that's what I'm excited for.
Any final thoughts, Don, or are we good to move on?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. Well, as we've mentioned on the last couple of shows, we've started a Patreon. We have a patron, Torby. We appreciate you. Thank you. What it does is help us. What we're trying to do is, there are expenses to make a podcast, and that's all we're just trying to cover because, as much as we love to do it, not spending all our money on doing it is also a good thing. And also, it'd be nice to actually at some point be able to give our guests a little something for coming on. Maybe, maybe buy them a Starbucks or something. Who knows? But that's kind of where we're going. And if you obviously, we just appreciate you. So if you're listening, the best thing you can do, regardless, the best thing you can do is just tell somebody else about the show and pass it on. We don't need you to tell two people. It's not a pyramid scheme. We just need you to tell one person. It's an obelisk scheme. So you tell one person they like it, they tell somebody else they like it, somebody else they like it, and that's enough. We're not looking for exponential growth. We're just looking to grow a little bit because we have great guests on, and we'd love for more people to hear what they have to say because they're spending their time. It's a commitment to come on a show for a couple hours, and you would think it's not, but it is. So that's what we're trying to do. DragonRider, do you have any shout outs? Or I'm sorry, I just jumped a section. Where can people find you on social media nowadays?
You can find me on I want to say Twitter. I guess I'll still say Twitter or X at DragonRider. No, Donnie DK. It's been a long day. DAWNIE on YouTube and Twitch. You can find me DragonRider TCCG. I will be streaming for the theory crafting. Shout out as well for our Amberflight Gaming for this month. We do have a Tiltify campaign going to raise some money for the Trevor Project. And we're also running a tournament next weekend on Saturday, the 28th. So if you want to join that, we have some pack pricing from Blizzard. We'll also be doing some giveaways from Firestone for the Firestone Premium. And we'll have a regular bundle and a mega bundle, which I am using from my codes, basically from the theory crafting and as giveaways. So those are going towards the tournament. So definitely check that out. Join in the tournament. We're going to be streaming it on Linny's channel. So I kind of jumped ahead and did shout outs and anything to promote in my where you can find me section. But that's where you can find me, is doing AFG stuff and on Twitter at DonnieDK, not DragonRider.
Fair enough. Pylet, how about yourself?
You can find me on Twitter, Pylet712, that's PYLAT. And you can also find me on Discord at the same handle.
And you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, and anywhere else where fine products are sold. Just let me know if you want me somewhere and I'm not. I will try to get there. DragonRider, you already told us where you're going to be. Is there any shout outs you'd like to give out this week?
As always, shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for having me on. It was really exciting to actually look at some of the cards, like kind of for the first time and talk about them. I like this approach. I've always done the keep up with them, do that, talk about it on 3 different podcasts, do reviews, very in depth and it's kind of a little bit of a breath of fresh air to kind of kick back and just kind of look at the cards as an excited player from the other side of things, seeing them for the first time. So thank you for having me on. And I'm glad that I got to talk some cards. And I think personally, I am excited that I got to join this week and talk about Paladins and Murlocs, the Murloc cards, because as I said, I love Paladin and I love Murlocs. So that was exciting. But yeah, thank you guys for having me on. And for everybody else, check out the AFG tournament that we're running.
Fantastic. And yes, Pylet, How about yourself?
Gonna shout out you, DragonRider, for being on and chatting with us for the past hour and a half, and for making it sound like we looked at the cards any longer than you did. I look at them as they get revealed, but I normally don't think about them until like right when the expansion is launching. Because I don't have time, and that's not how my brain works. I'm awful at building theory crafting decks because I have to have them in the client. I don't know why. Using websites does not work for me. Shifting through the client does. And I don't know why, but we'll see what I can brew up for Thursday for Tito to suffer with. And then also shout out to Torby for not only being a patron, but for giving us some theory crafting ideas. And, he sent a really fun looking warlock our way already to test out that looks really similar to something I was looking at trying as well.
And also to Tarby to thank you, because he's helping us work out some of the kinks with the new systems. It's great. By the way, we've just reviewed all the cards in 2 weeks in like 2.5 hours, which makes me glad that we never did the 6-hour full review every single card in big details. So yeah, I'm kind of glad we went that route. Also, shout out to May, who is now and I'm surprised DragonRider didn't do this one, is now a member of Doctor 3. So congratulations there. But anyway, guys, I think we're toast. We'll see you.
See ya.
Bye.
Slide two brothers meet one another when they slide up to the mic. It's bread and butter with one another. Let's start up that recording light.